Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are going to be talking today about a developer's quarantine reading list, or at least the things that I'm reading as we're currently on lockdown. Now, there's a lot of things you could do with this time at home, relaxing, hopefully catching up on rest, but I think it's also a really good opportunity to maybe learn some things you've been meaning to learn, read some things that have been on your list. I'm hoping to take advantage of this time and come out better and more well-equipped to do great work in the world. So we're gonna talk about 4 books and 2 articles that I either am currently reading or have on my list to get done by the time that we actually get to go outside again. The first book I'm reading is called Show Your Work by a guy named Austin Kleon. Now, I hadn't heard of Austin or this book before a couple weeks ago, but I really like the YouTuber Ali Abdaal, and Ali had mentioned him on a previous monthly favorites video, so I thought it sounded really relevant for me, decided to buy it, and it has been a great and quick read so far. The premise of the book is basically you should share your work as you're in your creative process and not only when you have a finished product, and I think that pertains to coders as well as creative people. The book seems to maybe be a little bit more targeted towards creatives, but it has been really excellent for me, and it's a great reminder to learn in public. Now, if you haven't heard of learning in public, that is a phrase that was really popularized by Shang Wang, who is a big deal in the React community, and that basically just means sharing and documenting everything that you know and that you do and that you learn. And that's how you end up building a community and kind of making a name for yourself. A lot of people have used this playbook, like Kent C. Dodds, who also has an article about it, and a new favorite of mine, Tanya Rosia. So essentially the premise is that you don't have to be a genius, you just have to be findable, and that is easier than ever in the modern digital age. I highly recommend this book. The second book I'm currently reading is called The Impostors Handbook. It is by Rob Connery, and the premise behind this is that Rob has been working in the software industry for years and years and always felt like a bit of an imposter when the conversation turned to computer science topics. And so he spent a year teaching himself all the things that you would normally cover in a CS degree that he didn't feel like he knew, and he put it into this book form, and it is awesome. I've been kind of reading it on and off for a year. I started it and then kind of drifted away towards other things, but I'm back on it, and it has been really helpful. One quick example of why is that I've started to do a little bit more back-end development at work, and there's a whole chapter on database normalization, which, coming from a little bit more of a front-end world, was pretty foreign to me, but having tried to do some of this stuff in the wild, it's been really helpful to have kind of the theoretical side of things as well. The book also covers all of the things that you would expect to find in a technical interview, like complexity, algorithms, data structures, software design principles, and functional programming. So it really covers the bases, and I think does a really good job of equipping you at a high level to engage with these topics. Again, that is The Impostors Handbook by Rob Connery. The third book on my reading list for quarantine is called Code, The Hidden Language of Computer Hardware and Software. And this book is absolutely incredible. Kind of like the last book, I started it and then kind of took some time away, but I'm circling back around to it, and I'm so glad that I did. The premise is that the author, Charles Petzold, takes you from binary all the way up to ASCII and graphics using a series of metaphors. And so he uses these metaphors in order to explain these somewhat complex topics about how information gets translated into formats that are consumable for computers. I know this sounds a little abstract, but as soon as you start reading, you will understand what I'm talking about. The first big metaphor that he uses is using Morse code as a metaphor for bits and bytes, and it is just awesome. You'll just have to take my word on this. I don't think I'm doing it justice. Again, that's Code by Charles Petzold. Links for everything below, and feel free to pick up a copy if it piques your interest. The fourth book I'm reading is a little bit more of a business book. It's very well known, and that is The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. If you haven't heard of it, the premise of the book is essentially using the scientific method in order to validate business ideas and create startups. This book is also well known for popularizing the term MVP, or minimum viable product, which is highly used and kind of slung around all over the place in the tech world today. Ries essentially advocates for coming up with hypotheses, building those MVPs in order to validate your assumptions, and then engaging in educated learning in order to tweak and adjust to whether or not your hypothesis was validated. He argues that this is the way to build a company that actually succeeds rather than creating a solution that is in search of a problem. I had absorbed a lot of this kind of through osmosis by reading startup stuff, but it was great to get it from the source, and it was a great reminder to start with validating rather than just building straight away. So that is The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. So those are the 4 books that I've either started or hope to finish during this quarantine, and I'm now going to move on to 2 articles that I think are really great. I've started both of these and hope to finish them soon. The first one is called What is Code by Paul Ford. If you don't know Paul Ford, he is a really well-known technologist. He has an agency in New York called Postlight, but he also is a great writer and built the website at Harper's for a long time, also wrote for a number of publications. This particular article, What is Code, was in Bloomberg Businessweek, and it was the entire issue that week. And so it is a very, very long article, but it really takes you kind of like Code, the book that I just mentioned, from the bottom up to the top of what is actually happening under the hood when you're engaging with computers and writing software. Now, I kind of feel like I have at least something of an idea of what code is, but I've always felt like it would be really good to read this article. It is highly acclaimed and still sometimes talked about, and so it's just been on my list for a while, so I'm hoping to finish that soon. That is What is Code by Paul Ford. The last article that I'm hoping to finish sometime soon is called What Working at Stripe Has Been Like by Patio11, also known as Patrick McKenzie. If you're not familiar with Patrick McKenzie, he's very, very well known within the kind of bootstrap your own software business type of environment. He was one of the first people to be writing about these things on the internet, and he has a big following because of that. He has been working at Stripe for the past few years, and he has the career of someone that I would really like to emulate. He's not only technical, but he knows a lot about business, and he can write. And he describes in this article, which I've started, kind of what his day-to-day is like, and you can't really put him in any one box, and Stripe has allowed him just to do what he does, which to me sounds really cool. I think it would be really awesome to not only be able to write code, but to deal with all the other parts of running a complex business, and so that just sounds appealing to me, so I'm looking to finish the article just to get a sense of what that would be like. So I've started it, haven't finished it, and it's been on my list for a while, hoping to get it done soon. Hope you found this helpful. I would love to hear what you're reading during this quarantine, so go ahead and leave me a comment down below letting me know what technical books I should be checking out. If there's something that I didn't mention that you think would be worth reading, let me know, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.